Good night to those who are now joining. Good night to all those who are now joining. Um, Share the live feed. As I have said from last week, that I will try to go according to the time change. I don't think that the time change has made it to some parts of the US and the United Kingdom and Canada to where we normally have our larger viewers. But I am, hold on. Yes. So I think another minute before I start and hope that you share the live feed. It's from 7:30 starting from tonight until 9 o'clock. That's every night until when the time has set back, and I'll start back from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Now, tonight's show, it's simple. It's about me explaining to you who I am, the reason why I have, the reason why I'm here, as a matter of fact, letting you know exactly who you are listening to. And I'll take 2 more minutes as I'm looking at the time on the screen here to start off to let you know who is Gavin Matthews. So welcome to you once again to the GMS Live, the voice of democracy. Share the live as you now come in. Please share the live. Share the live, share the live, share the live, share the live. As you now join, share the live. Good night to you all, to those who are now joining. Share the live. Well, to those who are now looking, I figured out that there's a lot of people doesn't know that the Gavin Matthews show normally starts at 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And as the time change difference, it starts from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. I don't know about any other talk shows. The thing is that I started mine on the 25th of March, 2020. That's when I started my show, the Gavin Matthews show. Then it was on Guyana Press. So I always continue that line of show. So to those who are now joining, maybe those are new persons to the social media to hear from Gavin Matthews. And to those who know me from a little while longer will know the times of my show when it starts, when the Gavin Matthews show starts, the GMS Live, and to when it's ending. Normally October of every, well, since last year, the time change would have come into effect. So to those who are now joining, welcome you all. Welcome you all. So good night to you, to those who are now joining from Guyana, from the Caribbean Isles, the West Indian Isles, the Pacific Isles, the British Virgin Isles, the US Virgin Isles, the Maldives, Mexico, the United States of America, Canada, the United Kingdom, the European Union, China, Beijing, Hong Kong, Japan, from Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, to those who are looking at the Gavin Matthews show from the Australian continent, from as far as Tasmania, Australia, and Melbourne, Australia. Excuse me if I'm looking a little wet tonight because it's pretty much hot. Uh, to those who are joining us from the New Zealand Isles, also from the African continent and all the isles around that continent. welcome to you. To those who joining me from the South American continent, as far as we have some Chile and Argentina and Venezuela and Colombia and Brazil, from Suriname, from French and Dutch Guyana, from the Netherlands, to those from Curacao. Welcome to you all that are now joining, and especially that person from, I think it's Iceland. There's a place called Iceland and there's another place called Greenland. Yeah. Guyanese are all over the place, are all over the place. But welcome to you all. Welcome to you all. Uh, as to those who are now joining, I'm of humble origin. My name is Gavin Matthews. I am a citizen of this country as far as 44 years now. That's how old I am. Uh, to those who might want to find out the little nitty gritty parts of this humble gentleman, I'm from Georgetown, Guyana. I'm a child of my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Matthews. I resided in the United States of America for a little while. And since being back in this country, my passion remains here. I could remember my humble origin of how I started trying to become a working citizen of this country. I joined the Guyana Police Force on the 22nd of September 1995. That's when I got my regulation number and I swore to protect and to defend the citizens of this country. I became a member of the Presidential Guard in that same particular time. So I had the opportunity to work with the then Mr. Chetty Barrett Jagan. And when he died, I also had the opportunity to work with Mrs. Jagan, who was president then. Mr. Samuel Archibald Hines was the person that, oh, hold on. There's some person that I want to block. Yes. As being a member of the Presidential Guard, I saw a lot of things. I saw things that no ordinary human being supposed to see and keep this knowledge within themselves. But I said to myself that my position really here is not to understand the personal lives of these people, but to protect their lives because of the office in which they hold professionally. After, when things got different, was after Mr. Jagdeo became president. That's when I started looking at not only the political life, but I would start looking at a lot of things that interrupted the lifestyles of many African Guyanese. That's what I started looking at. And they were affected a lot. I have seen policemen lost their lives because of the job that they hold. I have seen I have seen a lot of young men and women, their lives were snuffed out of them so rapidly. And when I mean I have seen, I mean not witness, but being able to have the understanding that this took place in your country at that particular time. It was horrible. It was really horrible, believe you me. And I wanted to leave the job because I said to myself, working in this position would bring no reputation to myself, neither to anybody that I know of. And people wouldn't see me as a good person because they see me different. And a lot of people didn't know that presidential guards, until to this day, they don't know that they're policemen or that the position is there open for military personnel to become presidential guards. You can be transferred to the presidential guard to bodyguard president. You can do that from the army and you can do that from the police force. It doesn't matter. But that job is a job for military men, according to the Constitution in Chapter 1701 of the Disciplined Service Act. So the president has the right to choose whichever person he wants from whichever area. My life surrounded the presidential guard because that was my second job. I started working at NIS first before I became a police, but I was too young to continue at the National Insurance Scheme, so I had to be released because my next birthday would have been 17 years of age. So they couldn't keep on employing me there. It's from out of school into the National Insurance Scheme, and after that is into the Guyana Police Force as an apprentice. I never forgot the kind of psychological toll that it took on me when I left that job, before I left the job, because it was hard to understand where where to start because I couldn't find a job. Everywhere I go, and I can remember when I applied to the Ministry of Public Service to work under the then Mr. Roopson Ben, who was minister of that ministry. And my contract couldn't be improved because it had to go through Mr. Luncheon. And I couldn't have that basic rights to work under him because I suddenly left the job. So I ventured on my own. I had my little business that was starting up. And I had a few persons that worked with me. And then up come the government changed. And when the government changed, I mean, that's when the APNU AFC had won the election. As a matter of fact, I was so happy because change was imminent. It's something that a lot of young people wanted, like myself. So that made me happy from within that we as a people, because we started the change since in 2011 when we had a minority government. Then Mr. Ramatar was the president, but the opposition was in control of parliament and not him. So he had to prorogue parliament in order to get certain things done, being advised legally and all these things. But we didn't mind. We knew that I knew that change was around the corner. We were so happy, you know, that after 2015 elections, we were anxious. We had to wait 11 days after that election period. We were so anxious to hear. We knew that change was in Guyana. I knew. You could feel the atmosphere. And when we had that inauguration ceremony, I felt good because people from all walks of life lined up. Even opposition members now, the PPP, were lining up to congratulate Mr. Granger on that victory. I felt a sigh of relief. I knew that things are now going to be done the way how we want it to be done. Now that I know that democracy is based upon the choices of the people, the majority that has chosen to have their own leaders. Hola. Yes. Justin, I think I have a little problem with the camera, so let me. Yes. Hold on a bit. It's the camera system that is giving us the little difficulty. Okay, yes, it's fixed. Good. So, what changed? What changed? What changed is the political situation in the country. That's what changed. Politics now become so difficult and different that it's hard for Guyanese to understand that are not politically educated. And when I say politically educated, the problem is that a lot of us, over 80% of Guyanese, are not politically educated. They're not politically literate. To understand politics is hard because nobody taught them. So after, and mind you, although 2015 the government changed, I couldn't get a job. There was nothing different for me back then, because back then I couldn't get a job after the presidential guy that I've left. Now the government has changed. I couldn't have a job after then because I was known as a PPP stooge. Poor Gavin Matthews ain't gone on for do the PPP. Was just a normal policeman attached to the presidential guard doing my job. But I was known as a PPP stooge. Nobody didn't want to give me a job. The very first place that I went to, I went back to the presidential guard. And I tried to seek employment under the office of the prime minister. Then Mr. Nagamutu's office was in the Ministry of the Presidency. And I can remember going back there to seek employment because I prefer to work with somebody professional, because that's what the APNU AFC presented themselves as, a professional body of people. And I was trying to apply my professionalism in what I was trained to do there, because the head of the presidential guard then under Mr. Granger, I think he would have realized that it would have been impossible for me to regain employment because I was once under the PPP as a policeman, as a presidential guard. So maybe they didn't taking back people who worked under the previous government. Mind you, we were neutral. I was neutral. I don't know about the rest. But I didn't mind. I didn't have a job. I didn't have nothing. Couldn't get a job. I was too recognized. So after all that time, I decided to say, well, look, start up a business, do something for a change. Instead of seeking employment, you have a good knowledge of how to be an administrator and start your own business. So I couldn't get that on balance. So I ended up back at the place where I started first in the presidential guard and as a member of the police force at Venus Footwear. Um, I worked there for a period of long years as a policeman doing part-time job. So after I couldn't get a job, I went back there. I was fully employed. And as the days go by, I started looking at my position and realized that I got to do something. I got to do something. And when I realized 2020 was going to bring a different scenario because they had a no confidence vote and they were waiting for the government to step down and call a fresh election, and everybody started second guessing. That's where I see politics came into full play. Believe you me, both with the opposition, then the PPP, and the present government, then the APNU AFC. So a lot of political things took place that we, the normal Guyanese, couldn't read between the lines, couldn't ascertain or understand what is playing out. So after the March 2nd, I already left Venus Footwear. I've already resigned from the job and I decided to go on my own to try to start life not dependent on someone else. And it was hard, but I've overcome it. And what I realized after that is that March 2nd general and regional elections in Guyana came and finished, and it had the normal rumblings of politics, and nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew what went on. People were still trying to understand what was being in play, and I got frustrated. So, got a phone, and I started posting some videos on my Facebook page about Exxon, about their involvement in our political climate. And the thing is that now the ex-president, Mr. Ramatar, Donald Ramatar, is now speaking out about the same things that were happening in his government and now that are now happening in this de facto administration about business influence in the political climate and parliamentary affairs of the country. So I got a call from a group of persons that call Guyana Press. And they said to me, look, we realize that, you've been posting some videos and stuff and this and that. So let us give you a platform to see how on what you can do and how you can work with it. And I turned out to be pretty good. I never knew that I had that fire in me. And when I started off, it was basically about Exxon and the corrupt practices of Exxon all over the world. And then I realized that there were a lot of influence in bringing to power the PPP de facto administration. So I started to speak out about Jack Dio. I didn't have a problem. I didn't even have time with it finally because to myself, I know that man, they ain't gonna win. It make no sense because we don't know who win the election. But there were a lot of political rumblings. And then the most stupidest thing happened. The thing that happened that I couldn't believe happened in our country is that they took our constitution away from us. They literally took away our constitution. And then give to us Order 60. And then up comes the birth of Mr. Matthews. Because I sat down there and I said, no way, Jose, this cannot work. Then I sat down there and I said, it is time. If nobody represents you, especially the African race in this country, the people that are not only marginalized and oppressed, but the people that every political party takes advantage of. Here I use the word every political party. Because for them to make themselves known, the only people to take advantage of is the black people of this country. If you're not asked to be quiet, you're asked to forget about something. that represents us as a people. I mean, how can you forget a representation of a people? How can you forget? So I decided to stand up and say, hey, look, I'm tired of this nonsense. It's time I represent the people, if nobody will. It is not what you can do for your country that I ask the politician. It is how you represent the people of the country that I ask the politicians. So I look back at the tyrannous years of the PPP and I realize this cannot work. It will not and cannot. I don't understand, where have we forgotten? I'm trying to understand, where have we forgotten about these people? Where? Because they haven't been good to us? Never. They have never been good to us. Let me show you how terrible we are. And that's why I do what I do. You can imagine the present de facto administration is investing in a cooperation because they got votes in that cooperation, which is Gaisuku and the sugar workers that they think still votes for them. They are not the majority. But people got problems with Gavin Matthews saying that they're not the majority. They're not the, maybe they were 40 years ago. But not now. But how can you forget the public service sector? Just totally forget about them and give each sugar worker $250,000. And don't expect nobody to talk about it. Then when I decided to talk about certain things, you get vexed. I know you want to infringe on my constitutional rights to free speech. Take me before the court. Say I cause emotional distress. Say that I cause emotional distress to who and to what? Because I said you were a murderous regime? That's the truth. That's who Gavin Matthews is. I would never refrain from those words. Even if I sit in jail, that's my choice. Because I want to represent a people that is voiceless. I look around for leaders to represent me. That is why I'm here. Because I couldn't find any. And I still can't find none. Because every time I look around, I see my people suffer. You know why they're suffering? Because they're hungry for knowledge. Their thirst for acceptance and somebody to defend them. And no one is there to pick them up and to cuddle them into their bosom and say to them, look, I am here for you. I'm here to prepare a way for you and to make a life that is better. I don't want to be those leaders that are going to accept nonsense and then perpetuate a different culture for you. Because every time you talk to somebody who says they become a leader, suddenly entertains an entertainment culture. And people are annoyed when I talk about these things, but is that all black people's worth? Is that what we are worth? Only entertainment? Is that where our future lies? You want to understand who's Gavin Matthews? I'm telling you now. I am not the one that would accept the system that is based upon illusions and propaganda. And stand aside and watch them as they murder our leaders and our elders in the street. I am not the one. When I raise the topic, everybody's annoyed because they don't want me to talk about it. So what do you want me to talk about? I cannot and I will not. And that's why I keep saying on my show all the time, entertain people. I cannot entertain you. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I don't have the voice to drown anyone out. I have a voice of representation. Hold on. This is what I'm talking about. Take a good look at this. Tonight, I prefer to be an educative part of the show. See what's on the screen there? Devo Juggernaut says in my platform, the PPP give you a life. They do not take advantage of you. I know that one for sure, bro. But little the Devo Juggernaut knows when you become a government of the day, your duty is to take care of the people. The PPP didn't give me a life. That is their duty of every government. You see, that part of educative process we don't want to understand. No government gives no one life. They're there to provide a better living standard. And if they can't, they will be voted out. That's what happens around the world. That's political education. That is political education. So to be educated becomes a difficult process because your brain cannot familiarize itself with an educative process to comprehend what is the duty of a government. It doesn't matter who likes you and who doesn't dislike you and all these things. The matter is that you're supposed to provide for all the citizens of that country. That is your job. You're a public servant. That's who all presidents and governments Especially here in Guyana, they are a public servant. They are the servant to serve me, not me to serve them. It's not the other way around. That is why they could never honestly win an election. I grew up hearing about PNC rig and this and that. Well, here I now see what the true rigging is, because these sets of fraudulent conversions that we have can never honestly win an election. They can't. They can't wake up tomorrow morning and call a snap election. They will lose it. They have to strategize how to oppress you and to take away your right to vote before they have an election. They cannot win anything outright. And then they have to put the slaves, these house slaves, they got to take them and put them into positions so they can oppress us some more. So when this black man stands up and talk about it, they don't want to hear that because they got black representation. You leave them, give them independence, and here then you're going to say, then you can hear what they're going to say. But no, they don't want independence because you're going to take on the kind of people that are accustomed punishing their own kind, oppressing them, taking away their rights. That is what is going to happen. So you don't want any, you can imagine 3 Indian men of East Indian origin, Irfant Ali, Bharat Jagdeo, Anil Nandalal, and then one half Portuguese woman named Gail Teixeira. They are the representation of a country that has 6 races. Then you bring in the 4th grade prime minister who has been reduced from his position to a photo op because he cannot say anything. He must not say anything. He's the prime house slave. It's supposed to be after the president, then the prime minister. Now we got after the president, the de facto vice president. Then you got the Chatri legal affairs. And then we got Gail Teixeira. Then Mark Phillips. And hold on, wait. His position is also reduced because now you have a minister within his office to make sure that he does the right things that the PPP want. A minister within the office of the Prime Minister, Kwame McCoy. That's how he's been reduced. And then you go till to Mexico and sat there to talk about reparations to black people who were enslaved. You can't represent me. You have never lived my life. Irfant, you were never oppressed. The party that you represent has oppressed and murdered black people so greatly in this country and keep on murdering them. And then you tell yourself that you're the president for all, that you could represent black people. And then we are so asleep, so fastly asleep. That all we can talk about is things that doesn't make sense. All we can talk about is things that doesn't make sense. Look, let me show you something. If you can read what is on my platform, you would laugh. Nothing to pertaining to what I'm talking about tonight. Nothing. There are some who, yes, there are some who will keep on the topic of what I'm talking about. There are those because we were never trained. We were never given the opportunity to represent ourselves. And the politicians doesn't want that because we are the spending power and we are the voting power in this country. Nobody wants to tell you that. Nobody wants to tell you that. And then we go on to the name calling. Why do we affix ourselves to these things? We distract our own selves. Invite that reasoning. Don't lose track of the origins of this conversation because if you lose track, they will deviate you. The minute Gavin Matthews start talking about the Constitution, somebody calls one person a jackass. And that's all needs to happen. Suddenly, there's a big conversation about who calling who a jackass. And we lose track. Do you want to know who am I? This is who am I. I cannot lose sight or lose focus because it's like everybody's going down the same lane, the same line. Nobody wants to do the right thing. What is the right thing? Look at what I'm doing and ask yourself it's not the right thing. Oh, the first thing people can say, well, I can't do what you do because me think I got children for live. Well, here, just to let those who are looking know I got children to live for too. My eldest is 14 and my youngest is 8. Don't you think I got children to live for too? You know what I'm doing here? I'm preparing them for my death. So when I die, they will know what and how to rise up because they have to know the truth. That's what we need to teach our children, the truth. Stop hiding it from them. Stop hiding it from them. What are we hiding? We have to let them know what is the truth, what is the political situation in our country, what is the system we're living by. Stop smoothing it off and polishing it off and open them up to the social media platform for children that you don't even want to educate them about what's going on in your country. How many children know that this particular government were installed? They never won the election. How many children know that? How many of you taught your children that? That is the truth. That is the truth. It is not about who calling who what. It is the facts. How many of you children knows that it is illegal to mandate a vaccine on a population? It is never written in the Constitution. How many of us teach our children that? How many of us put our children to sit down and teach them the reality of what's going on in their lives? What does mommy and daddy has to do to survive? Some of us say, no, we can't tell we children that. Well, when would they know? When they grow big and you lose them into the world and then they go butt up with it suddenly. And for them to understand that you knew this all along. And you never one day said, this is what is going on. None of us are doing that. Then what are we there for? What are we giving? What are we helping them with? What are we highlighting? I'm not here to preach about what this government is doing. Everybody knows what this government is doing. I'm here to teach you to take yourself out of the circumstantial constraints that we keep putting ourselves in each and every single day by a de facto administration. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to represent the people. This is not a political grandstand. It's not all about political grandstanding. Because if we understand what is politics, if we really do understand what is politics, Guyanese politics, some of us wouldn't even want to speak. We leave so shocked to know when we sit down fighting against each other, this is what our politicians are doing behind our backs. If we really do want to understand what is politics, but I don't mind the political game because that is politics. Nobody gonna come out plain and tell you this is politics. You gotta start reading between the lines. I don't mind. This is what I do mind. When you allow politics to take away the rights of a people to coexist, that is what triggers the civil rights gene within my DNA. Because every person has a right to coexist. Every person has a right to be treated as a human being. You got 3,000 people being laid off. 3,000. Over 90% of them are African Guyanese. And you're still quiet about the situation. You got extrajudicial killings are now taking place upon our lands. And you're still quiet about the situation. These things are repeating itself. A country who forgets its history will be repeated again and again until when they remember, until when a revolution is created, not to let that part of history repeat itself again. But apparently, they have some politicians who I may figure out like the history. They want the loss of lives so they can talk something against someone else. So why does the lives of the people have to be played with so a political grandstand could be understood? Y'all get where I'm coming from? Y'all get where I'm coming from? Hold on. Somebody I wanna delete. I wanna block. Coming back to you. Don't sweat. Yes. We need to understand that we need to represent each other. It's a representation of a people that is needed right now, not a political grandstand. That has far gone too long. Ask yourself the question, where is the hype about the elections petition now? Nothing has been said about it. Where is the hype about the elections petition? You're not even hearing the music in the air. What are you hearing? You're hearing about Breakdown Police Station being burned to the ground. You're not even hearing what they're doing now with the SOPs, statement of polls. Nothing. Nothing you're not hearing. Nobody's pushing the steam to create the movement. Everybody becomes settled and acceptance to the kind of atmosphere that takes away your rights as a people. Nobody wants to hear about that. But every day you look around, you see your own people suffer, and they continue to suffer. Now, when you're dead, the only thing they can do is put you on Facebook and mourn. Why? Why do I have to wait until then? Is there justice in social media? No, there's no justice. You can awake the movement of justice on social media, but how it is awakened? Do you understand what I mean? Why do we lower ourselves to people to affect us when we have the power within us to activate the movement? We are not a weak people. We never are. But why do we now accept the substance of weakness? Because of a few pieces of paper with a dollar sign on it, with the ink? Is that always all we've worth? Is this all we have worth? Ask ourselves the question. People look at us and laugh at us because they tell themselves, well, this is all we can do. And you got Gavin Matthews on the other hand, who is to them. It's fighting for the rights of a people that no one is seeing. For the past 2 weeks, I've been battling with my legal battles. And you know what is the amazing thing? When I stand in front of the court, in the courtroom before the justices or the magistrates, it's not about Gavin Matthews. It's about the representation of a people. Because that's what I'm in court for. It's not about me. It's about the representation of a people that I choose to do. And my wonder is how many people are listening. The platform is huge. Yes, a very huge platform. Hundreds of thousands of people. But to me, it's how many of those people are listening. I put a referendum out there and I said to the Guyanese people, home and at large, let's activate the office of the Chancellor of the Judiciary. She is the only person that holds the instruments of power in this country. She has the right to take it away, and she has the right to bestow it on you. Because when she calls you to that table and you hold up that piece of book, or that book that you call the Bible, or what have you, and you take that oath of office of President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, that is the powers bestowed upon her. And she is the only person that can activate the will of the people. A lot of us don't know that. Your lawyers are not going to sit down and tell you that. Say, hey, let's act. I went as far as enough to pay to have that simple application be there on social media so you can go and vote. Just for you. So you can be represented as a people. Doesn't matter your ethnicity. Here is the most shocking part. You have more persons like the actions of having that referendum than more persons voted. If I had the 5,000 plus likes as votes, believe you me, that action would have been already on the table for the representation of the will of the people. But oh no, we don't have that. And people are saying that they're afraid to vote. But I'm saying the minute you like it, everyone who wants to know information will know that you liked that particular page. So I'm saying to you, what is the difference? Your information, the minute you press like, here, hear what social media does. It identifies you and it brings out the type of person you are and your support. So the minute you like something, social media is now being informed. Who is liking? Which country you're from? What is your URL address? Or however it is called. They even know your email number, your email address, sorry, by liking something. So I wanted to know what is the difference from liking it than voting? Are we that scared? Are we that passive? Who really is Gavin Matthews? Gavin Matthews is a force to reckon with. Sorry, let me refrain that particular statement. Gavin Matthews is a force not to reckon with because I don't back down. As I say, I will not go quietly into the night, nor will I be muzzled. They ain't got no system can muzzle me. I don't need to be part of a grandstand event. I need to be part of a movement of a people to change everything that around you that oppresses you. That is the movement. To give ear and breath and hope to a people that are silenced. To stand up and be a representation of a people that cannot speak. Bring them out from beneath that woven sheet that suppresses their voice and have them to know that they're free and independent. We and I want us to be a part of that stakeholders event that represents our country, not the 1%, the chatries and the Jack Deos. No. Why should we allow these people to sit and represent us when we can do that ourselves? We are the power base of this country. We say who, where, and what that should gain from us because we spend our monies there. Everybody right now is trying to keep away from the covert card because they're not asking for it. It's just the government ministries now asking for it. Most of the private entities are now they're trying to keep away from asking you for that covert card because they need your money in order to establish themselves, in order to say that yes, they have gained such and such of monies. Without our money, they cannot exist. Hold on. I'm trying to delete this individual and I'm not getting it. It keeps popping up. I don't know what's going on, but there's an individual I'm trying to delete. Yes, there's some. Okay. Yes, I'm trying to. Okay, I think I know what's happening there. But I'm saying to all of you who are looking at this show, it is time we reject our passiveness. Stand up for each other. You want to know who's Gavin Matthews? This is Gavin Matthews. This is who I am. This is what I am. This is what I do on a daily basis to stand up for the rights of the people, represent the people, and say to you, oh no, it cannot work. I ain't gonna come and sit down here and lie to you and me perfect. I am not perfect, but I'm not going to sit down here and to show you my imperfections. I'm going to sit here and tell you the truth. You need to be educated. It's a must. This is the only way we will have some sort of representation. I want to say to you now, as I speak to you, that I'm happy that I can have this conversation with you here, right now, to let you know who I really am, what I stand for. Tune in with me also tomorrow night again at 7:30, and as we discuss the further matters of this country. We can talk about a lot of things, but we must choose one of these topics. And tomorrow I want to continue the conversation about the 900 million US dollars go ahead contractual work to be done by the Ghana Energy Agency, by the Ghana, by the Environmental Protection Agency, from the pipeline from sea to shore project. Join me again tomorrow night at 7:30 as we discuss these issues and events that takes place in our country on a daily basis. My name is Gavin Matthews, and I say to you, thank you very much for being with me on the GMS Live Voice of Democracy. Join me again. I say to you, stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night. Cheerios for now.